morning. We want to call our meeting to order March 1st. My goodness, spring will be here shortly. Our invocation today and pledge allegiance with Vice Chairman Wayne Agog.
Bow your heads, please. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for today. Thank you for your many blessings. We ask that you give us and help us and guide us and give us the wisdom to make the decisions that will better the citizens of Wayne County. We ask that you be with our leaders in Raleigh. We ask that you be with our leaders in Washington. We also pray for what's going on in Europe. We just hope that there's no more bloodshed and that, someone can intervene and the bad things that are going on over there can come to a stop. We also live in a military community. I'm quite sure we have some of our friends, neighbors that are in harm's way. We ask that you be with all of our men and women in service, regardless of what branch, regardless of where they're at, to keep them safe. We also ask that you be with our first responders as they protect us here at home. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I assume you all have read the minutes of February the 15th, and I entertain a motion for approval.
So move.
All right, we have a motion to approve. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Mr. Honeycutt.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Do have a couple of changes to our agenda. Under consent agenda, we would like to remove number 3 because we have completed that item. And then we would like to add to the last thing a pay and class change for grant writer administrator position and appropriate budget amendment for approval. And that's under consent as well. And those are the only changes that I have.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion for approval of an adoption of the agenda.
So move.
All right, motion to approve the agenda. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. All right, on to special presentations, Mr. Honeycutt.
We really have a nice award that we want to recommend and promote today. And I really want to turn over to Sherry Archibald, who is the Executive Director of the United Way of Wayne County, to make this presentation.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Craig. Good morning, Commissioners. It's a pleasure to see you this morning.
Great.
It is always a pleasure to be in front of you, but a little extra special today. Our United Way of Wayne County is pleased to present an award this morning. And just to give you a little history on what this is about, annually, the United Way of North Carolina offers an opportunity to the 50 United Ways across the state to nominate what they call a Spirit of North Carolina Award. And the Spirit of North Carolina Award typically looks at a campaign or a partnership within their community. And this year, a new category was opened up titled the Post-Pandemic Champion. And as one of the only health departments that are recognized across the state for this Spirit of North Carolina Award, I'm very excited to be able to introduce this particular award and to pass this on to our health department, the Wayne County Health Department, and the leadership there, the board, and to Dr. Brenda Wise. Obviously, we've had a great relationship with Dr. Weiss and the Wayne County Health Department at the United Way. It's been our pleasure to be able to partner in multiple ways. But it takes two. It takes multiple people coming together. And so this health department has had a lot of work to do over the last 2 years. We recognize that. We've been very honored to be able to help to assist them. They've had their hands full, but they've done it with such grace. And so we're really, really proud of the work that they've done.
Oh, great.
Thanks. May I say something?
Oh, absolutely.
First, I want to say I'm pleased and honored to partner with Sherry Archibald and receive this award today. It's interesting. I came here about 2 years ago, and it was a whirlwind. We came just when the COVID was hitting the ground, and it was a little overwhelming, and I think we all can recognize that. And I felt like I needed a friend. So I put out a contract for a community partner, and Sherry Archibald applied. And it opened a lot of doors. It started a lot of new partnerships for me that I definitely would not have had, especially in that time frame. So Sherry and I, we share some kind of core values, and we talk a lot about them. And I'm just going to share them with you because I think it's important, because I think it represents what she's trying to honor me here for today. Number one, we want to give 100% to this community to the best of our ability at all times. I'm going to get, emotional, but Craig knows I'm this way. We want to do the very best we can for this community to help promote the health and well-being of our residents. And we believe in the highest level of services and programs that we can absolutely deliver within our means. We believe in collaboration and partnership, and I cannot tell you how many times Sherry Archibald has introduced me to somebody, made sure I got to know them, facilitated a conversation to make sure they knew who I was, what I stood for, and how we could work together. And I never could have done that on my own. But lastly, something we're quite proud about is we believe in workforce development. And we have created a cadre of what we call community health workers here in this community. We started out with 2. And we probably worked our way up to 10 by now since 2020. These are men and women, mostly women, of community with the cultural and language skills that represent this community. So it really is like a non-traditional workforce path. Usually I get, kids out of school, they come through the health department, they do the government channel, but this is a kind of a different pathway to create a career for people of community. And we're very proud of that because it is a little non-traditional. And we've done very, very well. Over the last 2 years, we started out with the COVID, which was a lot of work. You saw community health workers everywhere we were. We got a Kresge Prize. I received a Kresge Prize, and Sherry and I gave out 35 laptops to in-need families so the student could access remote learning and the mother could access telehealth services offered by the health department. That was kind of one of our first collaborations. We have 2 new collaborations, one under Minority Health to promote pre-diabetes prevention courses together for at-need families in the community. And most recently, we're very proud, one of 5 awards in North Carolina, we got the Healthy Beginnings Award. It's for prenatal and interconceptual women, for us to provide really wrap-around care coordination services for predominantly minority women, 50 a year in the community. And as I said, it was only one of 5 awards. Sherry was the first person I called and said, should I apply for this? This is crazy. It was a 100-page application. I don't even have time for this. And she's like, oh, you got time. You can do this. So, there's my nights and weekends. But we brought together a cadre of 10 really formidable community partners on this. Partnership for Children, Wayne Women's Clinic, United Way, YMCA of Goldsboro, all came to the table to support this grant. So we're very proud of that. And so onward and upward. It's been 2 years in, and I really look forward to more of the same. So again, I'm very honored to be working with Sherry. She's my colleague and my friend. And so thank you.
Thank you. Great things happening there.
And Mr. Chair, I do want to thank Brenda for the work that she does and for reaching out for the partnership. And again, as she said, she really did start basically the week before COVID hit. And between COVID and our new building and processes and changing from the Busman building to the food line, it has been really a whirlwind for our health department. Just want to thank her team, EMS, everybody that has contributed the United Way to get to this point. So I really want to publicly thank them for that.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Could I make and until COVID come along, I had no interaction with the health department. I mean, I knew the health department was there, but what the health department, with what Ms. Brenda's done and what Dr. Stackhouse has done to pull all this together in the last couple of years, I'm impressed. I mean, and like I say, I had never had any interaction with the health department before, but I have now, and you're doing great things, and thank you.
Thank you.
We've been kind of also, as you're fully aware, we've been building the airplane as we've been flying it. So, so it's really been a change on the dime, but I really do appreciate the work that's being done.
Well, hopefully we've turned the corner and we're beginning to see some positive things there. So I also want to acknowledge the fact that we've got a distinguished gentleman in the audience there that's on the Board of Health, Mr. Tommy Gibson, and we thank you for your service. Thank you.
I appreciate you all supporting me again.
All right, thank you. All right, I think we will go right on into, we'll skip over unfinished business and go to public hearing if we can. So I call our public hearing to order. This public hearing is to receive public comments regarding a proposed economic development incentive grant to Mount Olive Pickle Company Incorporated. The Board of Commissioners will consider $600,000 as an incentive grant payable over 10 years in exchange for the company's commitment to invest $45.5 million in capital improvements and to create 167 jobs in Wayne County. So is there anyone that would speak at our public hearing?
No one signed up, sir.
No one signed up. Well, is there any comments from any commissioners during our public hearing?
Yes, sir. I really am disappointed no one is here to speak up for this project, because this is a big project.
It is.
As many of y'all know, I made my living in the pickle business. It wasn't at Mount Olive, but Mount Olive is basically the only privately owned or independently owned pickle company in the United States, and they're the largest. And I'm just so thankful that they're stepping out and expanding their facilities here in Wayne County. They had the option of probably expanding somewhere else, but it speaks highly of the management and the employees of Mount Olive Pickle to choose to stay right here in Wayne County. And I just want to thank them.
And I also would like a few comments, and that is I want to send a special thank you to our legislative delegation. Without them, I'm afraid Wayne County and North Carolina would have lost this investment to a Texas community. So I just think that they have worked hard to make sure that we retain Mount Olive Pickle here in our county. And I just want to thank them.
And, Mr. Chairman, if I could, I do want to thank the work that's been done by Mount Olive Pickle, Mark Pope with our Economic Development Region, WCDA, the City of Goldsboro, and our legislative delegation. There were a bunch of moving parts to this deal. And again, I think as the governor said, it was the worst kept secret in Wayne County for probably about 9 months, but we kept it a secret as much as possible. But it really is a huge day for this community, for the investment and for the jobs. If you look at the agreement, there are clawback requirements, so we have to meet certain minimum requirements for investment and jobs. If they don't meet those requirements, they don't get the full $600,000. So we do have a really good agreement that will keep this agreement will keep our revenue to the black on this as well.
Good.
And Mr. Chairman, as has already been said in the past, this is a big deal.
Big deal. That's the DILL. All right, with that said, I'm going to close our public hearing. Do we need to take any action on this?
Yes, sir.
We do. Okay, we will need a motion for the approval of the grant.
So move.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Okay, we're going to go back up to unfinished business. Mr. Honeycutt.
Under unfinished business, number 1, discussion of cost estimates for street assessment improvements in the Lane Tree Village and Eagle Ridge subdivisions. And again, this was directed by the Board of Commissioners. Years ago, we did have petitions from these neighborhoods looking to be next on the list for improvements, but we did not do anything at that time. So enough time went by that we really needed to go back and get really good cost estimates so people would know what they were buying. And also, the property has changed ownership, so the 75% that may have been 5 years ago may not be the same 75% now. I want to thank Barry for the work that he's done, working with our engineering firm to get us to this point. And with that said, I'll turn it to Barry.
All right, good morning. Yeah, we do have cost estimates for you today. And let me begin by saying that the cost estimate we received basically is called an all asphalt rebuild. Basically, the streets have to be brought up to DOT minimum standards and have to be taken over by DOT. So it's a two-step process. So just because you go in and do some work on the road doesn't guarantee DOT will take it over. We do have to make sure that it is, when it is reconstructed, that it does meet their minimum standards. And so that's where the cost estimate comes in today for an all asphalt rebuild. Those streets, unfortunately, in both subdivisions, one, currently do not meet minimum DOT standards, and two, were not constructed at the time. For example, the main issue is underneath the asphalt, which you don't see. Apparently, neither subdivision has a base or the required base under there. And so that's why those roads have deteriorated as they have, is because that's missing. And so with that, we do have cost estimates for this all asphalt rebuild, which is a long-term fix, which will fix all the issues. And I believe that policy that you have, that's the intention, is for a long-term fix. For Lane Tree Village, the total cost, or the estimated cost, excuse me, is around $4.9 million. Of course, by the time you add possible interest, other possible fees, and of course, prices continue to go up, it may inch up some as well from that. Eagle Ridge comes out to $475,000, a little more than that. And of course, you can expect that to go up a little as well, I'm sure. So per property, you're talking around $15,000 per property that would have to be paid back to the county over a 10-year period. And so that's where we're at with our cost estimate. I've looked at what the company did, the engineer did, was they looked at DOT's punch list of what the problems were, and then they also went out and did their own inspection. And DOT looks at basically just what they can see, but the engineer went out and found, of course, the base requirement was missing underneath as well. And so looking at what they've looked at, looking at cost estimates that I've seen, it looks, I wouldn't say it's reasonable, because I can't imagine anybody would say $5 million is reasonable, but for what the work they're going to do, it is over 5 miles of road in that subdivision, so it does come out to $5 million for basically a complete rebuild of those streets. So with that, I'll be glad to answer any questions about the estimates if anybody has any.
Mayor, one question. In the future, all subdivisions, are they required to have DOT requirement roads?
Right, they are. Yes. And we require a engineered or a letter from DOT stating that they have been built to DOT standards. And they also do a test. The engineer for the project will send in a test to DOT with the thickness and basically do a core sample to make sure that everything's
like a density test.
Right, they're supposed to be, yeah. Yeah, so we do require that. Yes, ma'am.
Do we know how many subdivisions that do not meet the requirements now?
Oh, it's hard to say. It's hard to say. There's quite a number. There's quite a number out there. Some of them deteriorate more than others or quicker than others. A lot of that is, one, depending on the type of soils that are there, and then two, depending on the wear and tear. Larger subdivisions where you might have one main road that takes in more traffic will deteriorate quicker than a subdivision that has several accesses, that have several, ways in and out where you don't have maybe a main corridor. But it really depends. But But that's a lot of the problem with these is, these old subdivisions is sometimes they don't have that base that's required to hold up the road and to keep it from cracking and crumbling.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Question, Barry, you make an answer. If not, Chip, I'm quite sure can. When did we implement the policy that they had to be paved to DOT specs? I think I was on the planning board when it was done.
It's been a long time. The streets actually in those subdivisions were built to the standards at that time.
At the time, okay.
Now, under this policy that we're using to upgrade, you've got to bring them to the current
Right.
standards, which are different.
Yeah.
So the standards on the top base course was run of the mill in the 80s and 90s, whereas now they require crush and run.
Right. Standards have changed over the years, that's for sure, so.
And if I could also state, it's not only that they were built to those standards, there's a second process where you have to put a petition together by a certain percentage of the residents on that street for them to petition to the state for that to be taken over. And a lot of times that just wasn't done.
Right, that's right. That's right.
So it's a two-step process.
Well, there's no issue while they're riding on good asphalt.
That's
The
correct.
problem is when the issue comes in, when it starts deteriorating, then all of a sudden, just an
And the rules may have changed by that time.
And that's true, very true.
Mr. Chair, if I could, I want to make sure we clarify for any of the public that may be listening is that this would be a reimbursement back to the county, is that the county is not in the street business. That is not a service that the counties provide is streets. However, there is a provision in general statutes that we can basically upfront the money and get reimbursed over a 10-year time frame if the petitions have been met. So,
And overall, I think the win-win is that, once it is done, the DOT, they take over future costs because you're going to always have deteriorating roads.
Yeah.
So I think it is, it's a good investment, if the community decides to do it. I had a question for you, though. Initially, there was another price. It was $124,000, and that was just for patch and overlay.
Right.
Okay.
They did a short-term and a long-term fix, and the short-term fix does not meet all the standards of DOT. It's basically just something that, you would do just to fix issues you see. But the issue there is there's the potential DOT will not take that street over. And the way the statute's written, that if you do this, if you use this program, that it has to be taken over by DOT. And so what you don't want to do is do the short-term fix and have issues and then have to go back in and do a long-term fix on top of that to get it taken over. And there is that potential, even with the short-term fix, that you could potentially have problems before you even get to the point where DOT even takes it over. That time frame, there is a little bit of a gap there. So, but anyway, the long-term fix, like you said, it would take care of all the issues. DOT would take it over, and at that point, you would still potentially have problems in the future, but DOT would address those issues, and property owners would no longer have to fund any sort of improvements at that point. So.
Now, I had a question. You initially said $15K per house. Were you just talking about Lane Tree?
Actually, both of them would end up about 15.
Okay.
Both subdivisions would.
And that would be plus interest, correct?
If you, I didn't include, the interest is not included in those amounts, so it could be more than that. I said 15 because it's a higher number, but it could be even a little more than 15. It just depends on what that ends up.
Cost of borrowing is going up as interest rates rise, and this is a much bigger scale project than what the original one was. I don't know that I'm not sure that current staff could handle this. We would probably have to outsource the billing of this, which would go into the admin costs. So that's something we're going to have to look into before we determine the administrative cost of it.
So the next steps are going to be to send out notice to both communities so that they know that this is the options at this point?
Right, because it has been over 5 years, property ownership has changed over those years. So we would need to make sure that one, the current residents are aware of the program, and two, that we do have 75% that would be willing to participate.
Mr. Chairman, one more question.
Yes.
In the step 2 that you mentioned, we said previously some of these roads met DOT standards at the time. All right, who does the step 2? Who's responsible for?
Step 2 is responsibility of the property owners.
So they're the ones that's supposed to contact DOT?
Yes, and again, that's where the problem is, because you would have to have one of the residents to take it upon themselves to organize the petition drive in order to get the petitions to submit. And there's not a mechanism built in for that to take place.
Yeah, and DOT, when a subdivision's constructed, DOT has certain requirements that you have to have a certain number of homes built on each of the roads, and there has to be a certain distance of the homes, and they can't be homes that are just built for sale. They have to be occupied homes. So by the time you build homes that are occupied, in some of these streets, it may take some time. By that time, one developer may be already gone, and then two, you've already started to have issues because you have construction traffic going in and out, building the homes, before they're even occupied. So sometimes you run into that problem too. But usually by the time you get to the point where DOT would meet their criteria in terms of the numbers, the developer, a lot of times, it's left to the homeowners to do that. And as it was mentioned, if you don't have major problems at the beginning, you really don't think about that when you're buying a home.
That's the whole problem with bigger subdivisions not wanting to implement a homeowner association, because nobody wants to pay the dues up front to do the maintenance, because they don't see any maintenance to do at the time. And that's the issues that we run into a lot with the subdivisions that we got.
Okay, any other comments?
Move on.
I did have one comment here, and that is, I got a lot of pushback from some of the residents that were not eager in, what was the last subdivision, Canterbury Place?
North Creek and Canterbury Village.
Well, at any rate, I'm not sure which subdivision they were in, but they were not real happy that the community did not get the alternative plan or an alternative plan, and they consider an alternative plan would be at least explaining to them that they could form a homeowners association and could in fact assess dues to pay the 100 and what was the charge there? I don't see it there. The $150,000, was that the?
124,000.
100 what?
124,000.
124,000.
Okay, so the 124 just to do the repairs to the roads. And again, that was their criticism because they were not happy. I think they were assessed $17,000 and some odd dollars.
What's the thing about forming a homeowners association after the subdivision has been developed out of the developer's hands takes 100% participation to form that homeowner.
Well, just make sure that we explain to them they would have to have 100% participation of all lot owners that would sign that for that to take place.
Which they're not going to
because
get.
they're not going to get, but at least we just didn't, I don't think we did a very good job of at least having that option discussed.
Well, I can tell you.
But you're right, it's going to be hard enough to get to 75, let alone 100%.
I don't know, it was like $17,000 a lot.
Right.
Well, I can tell you it's improved their the value of their home that much.
I agree.
Because the roads in there were in kind of foul shape. We had inverted speed bumps.
Okay, so we don't need to take any action at this point?
We do. We need a motion to allow staff to move forward to share this information with those subdivisions to see if they're interested at these current costs to start the petition process and start having those public informational meetings.
Are you planning on actually having a meeting and inviting them to come and ask questions and so forth?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'd like to make the motion, if it's okay.
And it need to be made very clear that they're going to have to participate in helping with the petition now.
Oh, I agree.
I mean, that's not our responsibility.
Just also to clarify, we will send, and Dr. Chip, we'll send by certified mail to all property owners that are affected.
All right, so we need a motion to instruct staff to proceed on and establish some particular meetings and notify the property owners of this option.
Mr. Chair, you have it down here.
I was getting ready to,
Do what now?
I was getting ready, Mr. Chair, to
Okay,
make the motion. Yes. I'd like to make a motion that we give staff permission to contact Lane Tree Village and Eagle Ridge Subdivisions for the process of starting the talks in regard to paving.
Okay. Any discussion on the motion?
You did say they would be notified by certified mail.
Yes, sir.
Well, that's going to be expensive just in itself.
Yeah, we're rolled in if the project is done. That would be part of the admin.
If the project is done.
If the project's done.
If the project's not done, the county's going to bear the expense.
Well, if
It's
you remember.
$7.49 a letter.
Yes, sir. We also, as far as the engineering, that's been a county cost to this point because we wanted to have good numbers to go back to the subdivisions. When we originally talked about this, we had information from DOT, and it was a very generalized cost estimate, which was very, very low. And we felt uncomfortable about taking that information to property owners, and then once they said, oh yeah, we'll do it for $5,000 a lot, and then when it turned into $15,000, well, you didn't tell us that. So that's the reason why we spent the money to make sure we had accurate information to share with them so that they had the best information to make the decision.
Okay, Commissioner Greer.
Are we going to have individual meetings for both subdivisions, or are they all coming here, or?
And I think what they said earlier, and that we went to them, I think we went to a church.
Salem Church
before, so we would probably try to go out into the community to get as much participation as possible.
I think that's the best idea.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by raising your right hand. All right, moving on to number 2.
All right. Next is motion to approve the recommendation for the Wayne County Board of Commissioners Facilities Committee on preliminary site plan for the combined DSS and health building. First, let me thank the Facilities Committee, also the staff committee that's been working on this. Ryan Preble and Kendall have really done a great job of kind of heading up these capital projects, but there's been a lot of work to get to this point. Looking at square footage, looking at a layout, looking at a location. Again, we looked at it, Ash Street versus the property on Klingman, and really trying to evaluate to get the most bang for our buck. So you have a preliminary site plan, some preliminary elevations within your packet, floor plan. So what we're asking for is, if this is agreeable in principle, Mosley will then start really getting into the schematics. So the next phase we would do is, once the schematics were approved, take those and start our construction drawings and move this project forward.
Okay, so we'll need a motion to approve the recommendations.
So move.
So moved. Okay, any discussion on the motion?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Could we get hard copies of just these drawings?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Okay, item 3.
Next is motion to approve the recommendation of the Wayne County Board of Commissioners Facilities Committee to instruct Mosley Architects to proceed with the development design phase of the new jail. Again, very similar, if I can speak, to what we have done to this point. kind of gives a layout of a site plan and at our location on William Street, right next to the Kerry Winters Jail, looking at different options. But again, I think the Facilities Committee has done a really good job of moving these projects forward, and we would like approval based upon the preliminary floor plan and elevations to move forward with schematics.
Okay. Anyone like to make a motion?
So move.
All right, move to approve. Any discussion on the motion?
I'd like hard copies on this one also.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And this is to say, we will bring back final schematics will have to be approved, final floor plan, final elevations, all that will have to be approved by the board. What this has done for both projects is kind of get the framework of what we're looking at, have them kind of build the walls within that framework, and then we can move things around once that's completed.
Okay. Any more discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Okay, next topic on our agenda is the consent agenda.
Mr. Chair, we did add the pay and class change for the grant writer's position in our pre-agenda meeting. Remove number 3. With that said, we present this for your approval.
Okay. Do I hear a motion?
So move.
All right, we have a motion to adopt the consent agenda. Any discussion on the motion?
Yes, sir. I just want to thank Chris. I didn't get an opportunity to thank Commissioner Gurley for going out to Rollingwood with me and looking at some of the problems that existed there. And this grant that's in this consent agenda is going to help the community tremendously. So I just want to, thank him for that, and also thank the board for the grant writer. I mean, that is going to be phenomenal for this community. Thank you.
Okay, great. Any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of the consent agenda motion signify by raising your right hand. Okay, that's approved. We move on now to public comments. Anyone sign up for public comments?
No.
Okay, we've got no one that signed up for public comments. So therefore, we're going to close public comments. County Manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Did want to give you just a quick update, and I got this from Brenda about the vaccine and testing site that we have at our West Grantham Street location, and I'll read the email that she sent me. The county's vaccine and testing site on West Grantham, the former Food Line building, has experiencing a decline in both testing and vaccines in the past few weeks. Testing has decreased to 20 to 30 tests a day. There are many at-home test kits available now, and residents are likely using them. Vaccines. The health department staff has been contacting individuals who've received a second dose from us to ask if they're interested in receiving their third booster dose. This has increased a vaccine demand a little, although overall demand is quite low, average of 30 vaccines a day across all ages, ages 5 and above. We're waiting to see what will happen with the FDA review of the Pfizer vaccine for young kids, 6 months to 4 years, and this approval has been put on hold. If the approval process passes, we may see a demand for the vaccine. So we have seen a slowdown in it, but we're still pushing for those that have been unvaccinated, or if you still need testing, please come see us at the location at the old Food Line on West Grantham. That's all I have at this time.
That's all you got?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, then we've got commissioner comments. Commissioner Williams.
No comment.
Commissioner Barbara Aycock.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to congratulate our new tourist person who's been hired, Amanda Justice. I think she's going to do a good job. I met her at our tourist meeting last week. Also, I enjoyed the Wayne County's livestock dinner last night. It was good to see that they had opportunity to do the fair and be back into black. Also, I received a letter, and we're having our community meeting today. Roy Cooper, Butterfield, Raymond Smith, and John Bell and myself were addressed in this letter because it's basically talking about the sewer issues, the water issues, and the water costs that our communities are facing. And North Carolina ranks 32 in the nation of cost in electricity. And the lady states here that the average customer uses 1,077 a month, and we rank 15th in the nation. She's using here, I won't call out the community, they're talking about they're being held hostage on the cost of small towns, rates and stuff, and working in a small town, I can understand how the rates, affect the citizens and also the cost that the towns incur. But in this residence, this is sewer. The basic charge is $25.55, and per thousand is $12.88 per 1,000 gallons. Water, $19.72 in monthly basic charges and $6.61. And they're paying an average of $118 a month in electric. So you can see that when you add all these costs up, how it is affecting our small town communities. And to me, this is something that I think the legislature really needs to start looking at. I know you can get a lot of grants if towns apply for it for water and sewer, but you can't get grants for electric. There's not many grants out there to maintain the electric cost. And I think this is some of the stuff that we're going to be talking about today in our meeting is the cost that the small towns are having to charge their customers to even operate a small town. And it's really getting to be to where people cannot stay in small towns because of the cost of utilities and everything. And this is something I'd love to really see our legislatures really get involved in, because this is beginning to be a big problem all around in small towns. So if we want to maintain our small towns and everything, we got to start looking at these costs and being able to help the small towns, being able to be substantial with their rates and stuff. Because I know when I was working in a small town, it really hurt when you have to go in to meet the cost that Electric Cities is charging small towns, and Duke Energy is charging small towns, the rates that they're having to pay and everything. And most of these homes in these small towns are not fully insulated. They have bad windows in them that are not energy efficient. And these are some of the things that really needs to be looked at helping citizens being able to maintain and stay in small towns. And so that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. So Mr. Hardison.
Nothing this time.
Okay, Commissioner Gurley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I haven't mentioned this in a while, but we're still in need of volunteers for the volunteer fire service. Some of our members of the aging community, and we can't move as fast as we once could. And it's kind of like Toby, I guess. But we can go one time, but that's about the extent of it. But do think about volunteering as a volunteer firefighter. Stop by your local fire department. Most of them meet every week. See a bunch of trucks there pull in. Just come by, just visit with them, see if you're interested. We take everybody. It don't matter what you do for a living. We've got doctors, lawyers, laborers, sheriffs. We got them all. So just think about that. Next thing is, I'm gonna give you a tentative DOT schedule of some projects that we've got going on in Wayne County. I'm gonna go through the four-way stops or all-way stops, and this is all going to be pretty much done in April of 22. They were actually measuring two of the projects I went through this past week. Airport Road and Mount Carmel Church Road will be an all-way stop installed. Pikeville Princeton Road and Hennett Road, an all-way stop. 111 South and Zion Church, an all-way stop. Indian Springs Road and Northeast Church Road will be an all-way stop. There's been 5 added. 111 North and Stony Creek Church Road, there'll be an all-way stop. Pineview Cemetery Road and Camp Jubilee Road, all-way stop. Highway 111 North and Dog Pate Road there at Patetown Fire Department, we've had 2 fatalities in the past, I think, 6 or 7 months. There'll be an all-way stop there. NC 55 and Indian Springs Road, all-way stop, and 13 South at Drum Lake Road, an all-way stop. There's going to be some improvements that's to be made on the improvement management of from Waymore Drive from Lock Haven to Country Day, there around the doctor's offices and the nursing homes. There'll be some safety improvements at 581 between Noram and Buck Swamp.
That one's already started.
Yeah. The realignment of Hood Swamp Road and Berkeley Boulevard will be in July of this year. And that's the realignment, not the actual 13 North project. That's the realignment of Hood Swamp Road just northeast of the existing part. And the last thing we've got is the Central Heights Road realignment in Berkeley Boulevard, and that should be lit in November of this year.
Mulberry Street.
Do what now?
Mulberry.
Yeah, well, that's the Norfolk Southern crossover. They're supposed to be closed, but we'll see. Then the last thing, they're going to replace the US 70 business bridge over CSX Railroad, and that's in January 23. So that's the last thing we've got. That's all.
Okay. Vice Chairman Acott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Attended several events in the last couple of weeks. Did attend the Livestock Development Association meeting last night. Had a great turnout, great meal. They presented several, I think it was 9 scholarships totaling, what was it, 10,000? 8,000? 18. Totaling $18,000 to 9 young men and women. And also, I've been going to that event for many, many years, even when we had it at the old Wayne Center. Continue to get good comments on the Maxwell Center for the space that we have and the facility, because you have events like this, and a lot of times you have first-time attendees to the facility, and still getting good comments. Now, we got criticized somewhat when we appropriated that much money for the facility, but I think people are seeing now that it was money well spent. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I do not have anything to add. However, I would like to make a motion that we go into closed session so that we can discuss a matter with our attorney. Okay. So making a motion to that effect. Is there any discussion on the motion? Being none, all those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Okay, we're back out of closed session.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we go back into closed session for acquisition of property.
All right, we have a motion on the floor to go into closed session on acquisition of property. Any discussion?
Really be to instruct your staff and the position taken to negotiate the price of purchasing property.
With the amendment.
Yes.
All right, we have a motion to go into closed session with the amendment. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Okay, we're back. All right, we out of closed session. Anything else come before the board? We then are going to go into recess and reconvene at the Maxwell Center at 12 o'clock.